Welcome to Saints and Scandals Report, a faith-based channel. If you are watching now, please do support us by hitting the subscribe button, as this helps us to grow and bring you more faith-based news. Now here is a video of Mike Wenger bringing to our notice a long-time video made by Craig Locke. A controversy that once sounded like just another fiery sermon clip has now turned into a much larger conversation about accountability, evidence, and the dangers of making explosive accusations in public without following through. Greg Locke and a series of shocking statements he made about two of the most recognizable pastors in America, Kenneth Copeland and Joel Osteen.
This is not for entertainment. This is very serious stuff. I'm deeply concerned about what Greg Locke said about Joel Osteen and Kenneth Copeland, and the fact that Greg Locke later went silent about it and may have even removed some of the evidence of what he said. He accuses them of being PDF files, you're supposed to say on YouTube, I'm told, of you-know-what, and worse stuff as well, especially for Copeland. He says he has evidence of it, and I've asked him to bring that evidence forth. I'll show you what he said in response to me later in the video. He seems reluctant to do so. I don't know what's going on for real, guys, but I'm trying to bring this into the public square because light disinfects. And if there is something to these accusations, then they should be chased down. But also, if Greg was lying, which would be one of the most wild, insane lies I've ever heard, if these are lies that he's telling, then he should be held accountable and he should publicly repent of those things. This is the first clip where he's talking about mostly about Copeland, but he also mentions Joel Osteen. Listen to what he says. We're going to break it down a little bit because it is very significant. This is not entertainment. This is not for fun. This is because Scripture tells us to raise our voice for the oppressed and for the afflicted and to defend people, especially children, who are in need.
Full-blown demon-possessed Satan worshippers like Kenneth Copeland, the most powerful pastor in America. He's a demon and he's going to hell, and you tell him I said so. I'm about to kick this pulpit over and preach wide slam open tonight.
Now, some of you might disregard what he's about to say because you feel like he's yelling, and he's obviously, he is the way he is. But listen to the specific details he gives about this. He's like, I have evidence, I have proof, and that really matters because one way or another, there should be some kind of accountability for this.
That low-down, sorry sex trafficking rapist.
Sex trafficking, rapist, and then he'll add pedophile. This is about Kenneth Copeland he's talking.
I wish to God he would take me to court. I wish to God that demon would take me to court. I'll show the pictures I've got.
He says he has pictures. That's evidence, okay? He's saying you can't take me to court because I have the proof. This was years ago. This was 4 or 5 years ago. It's difficult to tell because as far as I can tell, he's removed this video from his website or from his YouTube channel. If it's there, I can't find it. Now, I could find the other clip I'll show you in a second where he talks more about Osteen, but I couldn't find this one. And since this has happened, Greg Locke has gone quiet in his criticisms of a lot of these guys. He said, I had a bad season there and I repented of that. Now he's...
Years ago, Locke publicly accused both men of horrific criminal behavior, including abuse-related allegations involving minors. These were not vague criticisms about theology, money, or church leadership. Locke went far beyond that. He openly described Copeland as a trafficker, predator, and criminal, while also making deeply disturbing accusations against Joel Osteen. What made the situation even more serious was the confidence with which the claims were delivered. Locke repeatedly insisted he had evidence. At one point, he even claimed he possessed photographs that could prove what he was saying. That changes the entire conversation. There is a massive difference between a pastor saying he disagrees with another ministry and a pastor publicly accusing someone of crimes involving children while claiming to have proof. Once those words are spoken publicly, especially before large audiences and online viewers, the issue stops being entertainment or internet drama. It becomes a matter that potentially involves victims, criminal investigations, destroyed reputations, and public trust. The controversy resurfaced after a commentator revisited old sermon clips from Locke and raised questions about why nothing ever came from the accusations. According to the commentator, if Locke truly had evidence of such serious crimes, then the information should have immediately been taken to law enforcement. Authorities, investigators, or federal agencies should have been involved. Instead, years passed, no public evidence emerged, and some of the original clips reportedly became difficult to find online. That disappearance only intensified suspicion. Critics began asking why at least one sermon clip involving accusations against Kenneth Copeland allegedly vanished from Locke's platforms. Some wondered whether the video had been intentionally removed. Others argued it may simply have been deleted during routine content management or lost over time. But when accusations this serious are made, even the removal of a video can fuel public speculation. The larger issue, however, is not merely whether a clip disappeared. It is whether the accusations themselves were true, exaggerated, or completely fabricated. The commentator addressing the controversy repeatedly emphasized that he was not declaring Kenneth Copeland or Joel Osteen guilty. Instead, his focus was on accountability. He argued that either Locke possessed real evidence that should be investigated immediately, or he made reckless accusations that could permanently damage lives and reputations. That framing struck many people because it removed the discussion from internet tribalism and forced attention onto the core issue. If someone publicly claims to have proof of abuse involving powerful religious leaders, what responsibility follows that statement? In the eyes of many observers, the answer is simple: produce the evidence, involve authorities, and pursue justice. If the accusations cannot be substantiated, then the accuser owes the public an explanation and possibly an apology. Part of what makes this story so explosive is the stature of the people involved. Kenneth Copeland has been one of the most influential televangelists in America for decades. His ministry empire reaches millions through television, conferences, and global broadcasting. He has long been criticized for prosperity theology, lavish wealth, and controversial teachings, but allegations of criminal abuse move into a completely different category. Joel Osteen occupies an equally significant position in American religious culture. Unlike some pastors known for political outrage or confrontational preaching, Osteen built his image around positivity, encouragement, and motivational teaching. His church became one of the largest in the country, and his books turned him into a mainstream celebrity pastor. Accusations against someone with that level of visibility naturally create massive public interest. The commentator who revisited Locke's statements also pointed to another issue that raised eyebrows. Greg Locke later appeared to soften some of his rhetoric. According to critics, Locke eventually stopped publicly pressing these accusations with the same intensity. At the same time, he began criticizing some discernment-focused creators and commentators who continued exposing problems within charismatic Christian circles. That led many people to ask a difficult question: what changed? If Locke genuinely believed these men were guilty of crimes involving children, why would the issue seemingly fade from his public messaging? Why would he not continue pressing for investigation and accountability? And if the accusations were made recklessly during an emotional period, why was there never a clear public correction? Locke himself reportedly referred to parts of his past behavior as a bad season. But critics argue that such a description is not enough when accusations this serious are involved. They believe the public deserves clarity because the stakes are simply too high. The controversy deepened even further after online exchanges between Locke and the commentator became public. The commentator repeatedly asked Locke whether he intended to release evidence or clarify his claims. Locke responded by saying he owed him no information. He also suggested the commentator was chasing attention and controversy for personal gain. But the commentator pushed back strongly against that idea. He argued that motives were secondary compared to the seriousness of the allegations. In his view, protecting potential victims matters more than online feuds, reputations, or platform growth. He insisted that if evidence exists, it should come forward immediately. If not, then accountability is still necessary because false accusations involving abuse can destroy lives forever. This entire situation reflects a larger crisis inside modern religious media culture. Over the past decade, scandals involving abuse cover-ups have deeply shaken public trust in churches and ministries. Across multiple denominations and movements, stories have emerged about leaders protecting institutions instead of vulnerable people. Because of that history, audiences are more willing than ever to believe accusations against powerful religious figures. At the same time, the internet has created an environment where sensational claims spread rapidly, often long before evidence is verified. Social media rewards outrage and emotional certainty. The louder and more dramatic the accusation, the more attention it receives. Religious media is no exception. That combination creates a dangerous environment. Genuine whistleblowers can be ignored or silenced, while false or exaggerated accusations can spread uncontrollably and ruin reputations overnight. The challenge is learning how to pursue truth responsibly without falling into either blind trust or reckless hysteria. The Greg Locke controversy sits directly in the middle of that tension. On one side are people who believe powerful ministries have historically escaped scrutiny and that strong public exposure is necessary to uncover hidden wrongdoing. On the other side are those who believe accusations should never be made publicly without verifiable evidence and proper legal reporting. The commentator revisiting these clips tried to focus on process rather than speculation. He repeatedly stated that he did not know whether the allegations were true, but he insisted that serious claims require serious action. In his view, silence and ambiguity are unacceptable when accusations involve crimes against children. That point resonated because unresolved accusations create suspicion that never fully disappears. When no evidence is produced and no investigation becomes public, people are left guessing. Some assume there must be hidden truths behind the scenes. Others conclude the accusations were reckless lies meant to generate attention. Without transparency, speculation fills the gap. Another reason this story continues attracting attention is because it highlights how modern preaching and internet culture have merged together. Sermons are no longer confined to church walls. Clips spread across social media instantly, reaching millions of viewers who may know nothing about the broader context. Statements made emotionally from a pulpit can later be replayed, analyzed, and questioned for years. Greg Locke built much of his public image around being outspoken, confrontational, and willing to challenge powerful figures. Supporters viewed him as fearless and uncompromising. Critics viewed him as sensational and reckless. But when accusations involve criminal behavior, confidence alone is not enough. Evidence becomes essential. The larger lesson here extends far beyond one pastor or one controversy. Public accusations involving abuse carry enormous moral weight. They can expose real evil, but they can also create irreversible harm if handled irresponsibly. That is why transparency, accountability, and proper reporting matter so much. Religious leaders especially carry a unique responsibility because many people trust them spiritually and emotionally. When pastors speak publicly, audiences often assume they possess credibility and insider knowledge. That influence can be used to protect vulnerable people, but it can also be misused through reckless rhetoric or sensationalism. The commentator ultimately framed the issue in simple terms. Either Greg Locke had legitimate evidence that should have been presented to authorities long ago, or he made claims so severe that he now owes the public a clear explanation. According to that argument, there is no ethical middle ground. And that unresolved tension is exactly why the controversy refuses to disappear completely. Years later, people are still asking the same questions. Was there ever real evidence? Why were the allegations never fully pursued? Why did some clips reportedly vanish? Why did the rhetoric later cool down? And why has no definitive resolution ever emerged? Until those questions are answered clearly, the story will continue serving as a warning about the dangers of sensational accusations in the digital age. In a world driven by viral outrage, emotional speeches, and online influence, truth can easily become buried beneath spectacle. What remains undeniable is this: accusations involving abuse and crimes against children should never be treated casually. They demand evidence, investigation, accountability, and transparency from everyone involved. Whether the allegations were true, false, exaggerated, or misunderstood, the failure to resolve them responsibly has only deepened public distrust. And in an era where confidence often spreads faster than facts, that may be the most important lesson of all. If you enjoy deep investigative breakdowns and long-form analysis on major religious controversies and media stories, remember to subscribe for more.